This is not a test.
Webcam microphone up close. Webcam microphone up close.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
See, but I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, that guy, how can that be possible? The brain, wrestles, fondle slab of choice, I don't know when that was, doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter whether it's cartoon comes from, as long as it's real. It doesn't, it's hard to get real information. Because seriously, they don't want you to have just read two sources whenever I try to prove out one of these. It's not. If you expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to sadly disappoint on another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty old man, huh?
Really? Can't be serious. Is this really how you want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions, eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of...
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Pima Region 2-3 within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America. We bring you the Ochelli Effect.
It's like, damn sure, no, I'm an original.
We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for...
That's that.
For a 19-year-old girl to eventually get up to gumption to put these things out.
Oh, happy Thursday, UCY.TV radio. It is live. It is the Ochelli Effect. I'm your host, Chuck Ochelli. And, as usual, I am going to bring on someone of interest. Of course, tonight we're going to talk to Larry Woods, if everything cooperates and the thunderstorms don't knock me out where I'm sitting, and we'll see how that all goes. Now, I've had Mr. Woods on before, and I got to tell you, it was an extremely interesting conversation, and I actually am very interested to hear where things have gone since then, because I'm told that there have been some greater developments. Also, if we have time today, we will get into the hate mail segment. If not, I will do it on Saturday when things will get a little stranger, because after all, I've actually secured some permission to read the manuscript of a deceased author. And I've also got now 3 different manuscripts which you will not find on the internet, and I will be able to present them to you quite exclusively. So, and here's the funny part. I got to tell you, after discussing with this one individual's daughter, I was told that I could have any damn thing her father wrote for the price of $1 American. But I guarantee you it's worth a hell of a lot more than that fiat currency could possibly be. So, let's see what happens when we attempt to add in Mr. Woods. Larry, are you there, sir? Oh, wait a minute. It's still calling him. Well, all right. Larry, are you with me, sir?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent, excellent. By the way, I have to tell you that you are on the air, because apparently I have forgotten to tell people this before, and have continued and carried on conversations without letting them know that they are actually on live on UCY.TV radio, and that's a mistake of mine.
I'm perfectly aware and very happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your time and your efforts and the really eye-opening information that you brought to me in your past 2 appearances, and also to the listeners. I've actually gotten some comments back about some of the things you had to say, and you know what? There are people out there looking more deeply into this than I am even, and I'm really, really grateful for you to present this type of information. Now, I had Barry Prince on Tuesday, and he was only on the show briefly. He was also on with Terry Joyce, and we were discussing, of course, the topic of you came up, and he said that there were some new developments, and I was really anxious to hear about them, but I wanted to bring them to the audience at the same time that I got to hear about them. So, let's just first give anybody who hasn't heard you before just a brief sort of summary. We discussed energy last time. We discussed free energy. We discussed this particular type of generator, which I saw an example of, and you can find this really easily if you just search free energy on YouTube. It's, where they take the fan out of the computer and then they show you how by wrapping wires around it and by using magnets, this creates a not perpetual but continuous motion sort of generator. And this is the type of technology that, in it's a very simple form of it, but this is the type of technology that could actually produce energy that we wouldn't be required to beg for from the large corporate interests as we do now to power our homes and very many other things. And in fact, you were talking about cars that could actually end up generating additional energy, where you could actually charge your car from your house and then use your car to charge your house. This is really fascinating stuff, and like I said, I'm just dying to hear about these new developments. So without any further ado, I'll just kind of turn it over to you, sir, and listen.
Okay. This technology is very real and abundant, and I've been reading today about things that were discovered and used over 300,000 years ago that are just amazing. They knew how to manipulate magnetic fields back then. The information is, I guess what I'm trying to say is this is not new. There's nothing at all new about it. Maybe some of the methods we're using to achieve it, but we're not doing anything that hasn't already been done. Our information comes from pyramid math, from Solomon math, from vortex math, from the Fibonacci sequence. You just put it all together and they all point to the same place, and that's the manipulation of the magnetic and electrical fields of the Earth. And I think that we've got one of the methods to do that.
Well, I have always contended that that historically speaking, we really have a very limited understanding of the true nature of our history. And this technology and the concept of utilizing the electromagnetic fields is yet again another one of these examples where we see that, based on the history which has been presented to us, it is quite redacted. It is quite sort of shallow in a way, because we lack actually the insights into many of the things that were more commonplace in the ancient world. I've often brought up the example that even during the Roman Empire's height, surgical tools that most people believe have been only invented in the past few hundred years were actually in use back then. And that's just, again, a very sort of shallow example, because that's not even that long ago. And, yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad you brought up the Romans, because the Romans used steam power. And even today, in the age of the atom, where we're so far advanced, we're just using the atom to make a hotter fire for steam. So we haven't advanced.
That's true. And the excavations, of a lot of these cities there where they found, these different heating systems that were being utilized, they were steam powered. They had heated floors in some of the places where they lived. They had recycled and repurposed water streams. There was actually a very complex system of aqueducts, which worked, without any sort of labor. They weren't very labor intensive. They were just engineered properly to utilize the natural environment to produce different effects, whether it be sewage or heat or water purification. These things existed even there, and water was actually a very large part of the sort of day-to-day lives of the people in the Roman Empire.
And as most of you know, when water runs through stone, it generates electricity. And that's exactly what the Red Pyramid in Egypt does, is it generates electricity through a vortex field of water that circulates inside of the base of a pyramid. Another one of the ancient generating systems. So they're everywhere. It's all in our history, and we have been programmed not to see it. It's been written out of our textbooks. What I learned in school was one raindrop in an ocean of knowledge. I'm a firm believer that you should have an extensive background in what you're doing so that you know the safety features of it, but I'm also a firm believer that what you were taught in school is just a tiny portion of what it is.
Well, right. I mean, look, you can't control the worker bees very well if they have sort of unlimited access to the truth about the technologies of the ancient world. Because there was electricity being generated. There was like you said before with just the water system alone, and this is only one aspect of what you can find out through any of these ancient civilizations. They all had rather complex aqueduct systems that most of your mainstream historians, archaeologists, anthropologists don't even explain completely. They just sort of say, well, they had water running, in different directions. They were collecting rain, and they were running it through these sort of complex systems, but they never do quite explain what the purpose of it was. And the Red Pyramid does actually have another one of these sort of, and I know I'm using really bad terms here, but I mean, I just look at it as a complex system of aqueducts.
And the huge stepped water collection systems that they have in India that are like 1,000 steps to the bottom of it, those generate electricity as the water pours over them. So they're everywhere. They literally are. Some of the ancient temples in India look to me like capacitor banks. The way the domed caps on mosques are. That's a giant capacitor. That's a giant system waiting to be charged. It's just we don't have all of it put together yet.
I once had a very strange sort of conversation with somebody that I very much discounted because I thought they were just kind of out of their minds and sort of really latched on to a lot of these, fragments of different spiritual disciplines, and they had sort of congealed them into a complex, convoluted kind of belief system. And I had studied cults and things like this at one point, and I got to tell you, that at one point when people were explaining this kind of thing to me and telling me that, basically the gods are based in electricity and all this other stuff, I thought to myself, this is just the rantings of somebody who got a hold of, the wrong kind of acid, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But the more that you actually study these things with an open mind, you do find that even the construction of some of these, more sacred sites are multi-purpose. They're not simply there just for the observance of, religious ritual, but they actually serve purposes. Now, maybe at this point in time, all we seem to be doing is gathering on certain spots, in order to observe the dogmatic, belief systems that are being fed to us. But the truth is that these things actually had a function, and it was multifaceted. It wasn't just simply a place of gathering or a place to leave your offerings. There were all sorts of different things. Even if you look at the South American temples, in a lot of cases, you see that the complex systems of steps and all of this, and those again aqueducts. I'm sorry, but they're running down the sides of these things. If you were to actually place the water in the right place, you're going to get a whole lot more than just a pretty little fountain show out of it. But again, these are the ruins of what were too, and so possibly they might need a little bit of repair or a little bit of maintenance. But most of them, I think, would still actually function even at this very late date.
I believe so too. And if you'll look at aerial photographs of those sites, a vast majority of them look like printed circuit boards with 555 timers in it and separators and capacitors, and each different building, each different little building that they had in the site conforms to the shapes of the components that we use these days. So it's there's more to it than we're being led to believe.
So here's the thing, too. I did hear from Barry, like I said, that you had some kind of news in the past few days and that you were kind of excited.
We've been asked to work on a couple of different projects. Nothing yet. No paperwork exchanged or anything like that. But we have the opportunity to work on what's called an air car, a personal air vehicle. Once our generators get online, that'll be a vehicle that can stay in the air for 300 years.
An air vehicle. Wait a minute. An air vehicle.
An air car.
Okay.
A car that goes through the air. It's got 4 engines on it right now, four propellers that each of them operate independently, rotate independently. The propeller housing itself rotates. So that's your directional for it. With the magnetic motors in it, they should just go like for 300 years. The way that they are right now with just our coils, we could put magnets around each shaft and generate electricity as the shaft of the propeller turns, which would be indefinite power. You just have to have a capacitor bank to provide constant power in the craft and starting power for the props. So that's an easy thing to do.
Is this the kind of application that could be for just personal conveyance, or are we talking about, mass transit? I mean,
you could do it with mass transit, yeah. But then that would be somebody else that's going to make money off of something that should be free.
Well, no, this is true, but I'm just saying, I mean, if there were a need for mass transit, could it be applied on a larger scale?
Absolutely, yeah. This system could power literally anything. A 17-inch coil, the way we make them, a little bit larger than 17, about not quite 18 inches, will produce 5 kilowatts of power. So, if you need more than 5 kilowatts, then that's fine. Put another generator in there. And at this size, a commercial airplane could have 1,000 of them in it.
Wow, that's something amazing right there. And being that we're talking about, a magnetic field, which would be the workhorse of the vehicle. I mean, effectively, you'd have something that would not, nothing is forever, but I mean, would be very reliable as far as, not having engine failures and things like this.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't be susceptible to lightning strikes. They wouldn't affect these motors whatsoever, these generators. So, it would eliminate some of the dangers of flying.
That's actually a question that was just kind of dropped to me through the Skype text, was that, because I have a couple of listeners who don't participate in the chat and all that, but they do drop me messages on the Skype. And the question is, wouldn't a vehicle of this type, and you're a little behind here, but I guess you're kind of on time, wouldn't a vehicle of this type be susceptible to a lightning strike?
Not at all. What you've got is a concentrated magnetic field that is only, and this is not a standard coil, okay? We have core effect, not skin effect. That means you can't move a compass needle from the perimeter of our coils. You can only move the compass needle when you're exactly over the vortex. Okay? So what that means is that you're not having an outside magnetic field that would attract the lightning, that would ionize the plane.
Oh, so it wouldn't actually be attractive. Say if you were to be up in the air and you were to go through a cloud or something like that, it wouldn't actually be something that would attract the electricity.
Not at all. Not at all. And we have eliminated skin effect through magnetism. That means that the electrons no longer are exchanged on the perimeter, the outside of the wire. Now they're exchanged exactly in the core, in the center of the wire. That concentrates the magnetic field. We have designed our coils so that both the positive and the negative magnetic field travel in the same direction at the same time, so that the switching magnetic field through the vortex stays monopolar. We've, I think, got one of the answers to the next generation of generation. These coils magnetically reduce the resistance of the wire. Let me give you a little formula and a real short commercial.
Okay, great.
We have 100 feet of 22 gauge wire on a coil, a 6-circuit coil. Let me start with another thing. All you guys out there playing with coils, listen up. A coil is not a 1 or 2 circuit thing. A coil is 6, 12, 24, 48, 72, right on up with that ratio. Multi-circuit coils can be used as transformers and induction coils at the same time. You can get multiple amperages and multiple voltages with one input. Okay? Now that that's said, 1 volt through 1 ohm of wire yields 1 amp. 111. That's everyday electrical formula. Everybody uses it. That's the way it is.
Right.
A flashlight battery has 1.5 volts in it. So we put 1.5 volts in this coil with 22 gauge wire on it that was 0.46 ohms. Okay, so according to the formula, that should yield 0.69 amps. What it does yield is 10 amps with our coil. Did that register?
That's just amazing, because it's actually the expansion of the energy as opposed to the loss that you normally get.
That's right. We can put 30 amps into wire rated for 7.5 amps and only get a 5-degree temperature rise. 30 amps is enough to melt 7.5 amp wire under normal circumstances. What happens is, by increasing the field, the magnetic field, we reduce the resistance of the wire. And something else that's amazing about these coils, another electrical fact, when you add a load to any circuit, you will get a voltage drop across that circuit. When we add a load to this coil, it gets 0 voltage drop. The amperage goes up proportionate to the load. That increases the magnetic field, and that reduces the resistance of the wire. These coils ask for more load up to the maximum that the wire is capable of. They ask for more load. The voltage stays the same.
Now, exactly, this is kind of counterintuitive to what they normally teach you about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is absolutely against all electrical math unless you add magnetism into the formula. When you do that, the whole thing makes sense. It works. In fact, the formulas show that we can do 25% better than what we're doing now.
Right, you just haven't quite. I don't know if you've quite discovered the exact formula, but it seems as though you're on the right track. And oddly enough, this is the kind of stuff that was being done. Like in a lot of cases, when they dug up again, and I love going back to the anthropological or the archaeological stuff. But, when you look at some of these, artifacts that have been discovered that are supposed to be just, religious ornamentation and things like that, especially in Egypt. Egypt is the best example that we have at this point. But there were other cultures as well that had a lot of this kind of stuff that people think of as ornamental. And the truth is that a lot of it was actually being utilized to... I wouldn't say degenerate in a lot of cases, but in a lot of cases it was there to sort of be a collector for some of the energy that was just naturally existent. You know what I'm saying here? I mean, I know I'm not saying it as
absolutely. Yeah, the pyramids projected the power just like a Tesla tower. The monoliths collected that power just like a lightning rod, like a Tesla tower. And the Ankh was your personal power device. The Horus head on the staff, that went into the hole in the Ankh to provide the ground source so that you could use that. The Ankh could make you feel better. It could stop pain if you like had arthritis in your knees. You could put the Ankh onto your knee and ground it, and that electromagnetic force going through it would stop the pain. We're doing that these days. You can do that with one of our coils, as a matter of fact. And the power devices are everywhere. It's just we see it, or we're conditioned to see it as a religious artifact, or it's just something that they like to in their jewelry. The big crowns with a great big ball in the middle of it, that's a collector. Right. That's a power supply right there. And the ball in the middle of it was signifying the energy that they produced between the two horns of their capacitor.
Right, and another sort of amazing part of that, in my mind anyway, is that, only in, say, I don't know, maybe it's the past decade or so, we've seen a lot of people try to use these like magnetic wristbands and stuff like this to relieve or alleviate their pain or alleviate discomfort in one way or another. And it does help. And to tell you the truth, I've never seen a good explanation of that, but it makes a lot of sense when one considers that the human body is also a great capacitor as well. And most of the time, a lot of the discomforts and things are caused by, bad circuits, basically.
Okay, when you move a conductor through a magnetic field, that generates a charge, right? Okay, the magnet draws the iron in your blood. It draws that blood and creates... It enlarges the capillaries in that spot, circulates the magnetic field, circulates your blood, and as your blood circulates past that magnetic field, it generates a charge. It's a very minor charge, and you don't feel it, but nevertheless, there is a readable charge generated in that spot.
Well, right, and this what seems to be sort of a modern kind of invention is again something that has really existed a very long time. I mean, you were talking about the crowns there, but there were actually sort of armor that was discovered as well, which contained some of these things also, which was meant to keep troops standing stronger for longer in certain places too.
Well, if you discharged your capacitor into somebody's sword every time they hit your armor with it and knocked them down, wouldn't that help?
Well, absolutely. And not only that, but the overall energy level of some of these combatants was improved by exactly what you're talking about, drawing the iron up magnetically and causing the capillaries to open up a little bit larger, causing greater circulation. Which obviously, if your blood is pumping a little bit better, if your blood is flowing better, you're going to feel a bit stronger. You have the opportunity to draw upon, the natural endorphins and things in your body. And it also helped to keep sort of a level of calm if these things were done correctly, so that actually you could have more clear-thinking people in the heat of battle. Ancient battlefields were someplace where you had to keep your head about you, because you weren't able to simply survey the entire surrounding. You were very much stuck in certain areas. And you would have to you'd have to see that this was sort of a calming mechanism in some cases to keep these guys focused and all that, and it worked.
Absolutely. And the Native Americans used lodestone and iron to end pain. A toothache. Take a lodestone and put a little piece of iron on your tooth that hurts, and touch that lodestone to the iron. Your toothache will go away. Our people have known, our civilizations throughout the time has known how to do this. We've just lost the knowledge through conquest. When the conquering hero goes in and kills off all the priests that held the knowledge, then replaces it with what they think is real, and throw away everything they don't understand because they think it's magic, pretty soon you're not going to know anything, and that's where we're at now.
Well, right, and this is where, I've gotten into a lot of arguments about this, but the concept of magic, realistically, was really based on the knowledge that the priests of a particular society had. They were healers by herbs, they were healers by the use of lodestones and various stone articles, actually, that contained different metallic elements that, if they were properly arranged, you would create different magnetic fields.
Exactly.
And although these things were not easily seen necessarily by some more, let's just say, less enlightened people, they were actually very practical and very sensible from a scientific standpoint. And really, in a lot of cases, what is considered magic is not magic. It is simply the ignorance to the knowledge that say another people had. And although you're able to overwhelm someone militarily, it does not necessarily mean that you're any more enlightened than they are.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Everything is a matter of frequency. Everything from a photon to the entire universe vibrates. Everything has frequency. Because it vibrates, it's electric. Because it's electric, it's magnetic. It all is hand in hand. And that's where we're at. Empty space is the most full place that there is. It's all this stuff just floating around, waiting to meet an opposite charge so that it can combine and become mass.
Exactly. So outside of outside of the air car, okay, which is what I'm going to call it. I mean, I know that's probably sort of a cartoonish term for it, but that's a great way to look at it, though. If you're looking at something that has, if you can envision the propeller systems that would be, run magnetically, that would be, utilizing these coils that have, renewable, not only renewable, but expandable and continuously growing energy for themselves. And all you would need then is a capacitor basically to organize what to do with the excess energy, which is why you talked to me about actually, no, not only could you charge your car from your house, but you could actually take the car back and recharge your house. This is great stuff. But what else has been developing lately? Because I'm just curious.
Well, there's a group that's putting in a light overhead rail system that, again, is an individual car, and this is like 2 to 4 passenger, I believe, with a small luggage area, but it's a very lightweight system that it's real easy to set up. It doesn't take exotic bases and concrete fillers and all that to do it. It's very portable, and that also is a magnetic driven thing, and we're going to get involved with that, I think.
Is that anything like because I saw some years ago, I saw a film which explained how they had these like maglev trains and things like that could be utilized for greater expediency as far as constructing new cities and stuff like that. I mean, is it similar to that, where you have these posts and pretty much a singular rail that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It's the same system, but it's lightweight. It's easy to install. It doesn't take any special bases for it, and it will carry a family along at great speed. These things it's simply magnetic levitation. You're floating the car, actually, or you're suspending the car in a magnetic field. The suspension mechanism is in a magnetic field, so the only friction you have is air.
Well, right, and then that's really what the propulsion system is the air, right?
Mm-hmm. And all we're doing is we're providing a stronger coil so that you can use actually less coils. We have only air core coils, which is another thing. That the iron core is real good when you want to limit your magnetic field to do one specific thing, to induce a specific amount of voltage into another coil. Okay, that's good. That's fine. That's an application. But we only use air cores because we allow the magnetic field to do everything that it can do. And there's a direct relationship between the ratio of the size of the hole and the size of the ring diameter. And if you don't have that right, you're either allowing too much room for the magnetic field so that it extends, or you're compressing the magnetic field and restricting what it can do. So there's a little bit of science that goes with this. You can't just throw up a donut and put some wire on it.
Oh, no,
that will do something.
It may work, but it's not going to do all of what you're talking about unless you're very precise, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can wrap a thread spool with some fine wire and it'll do something, but it sure won't do what ours will.
And it's interesting to me that that all of this stuff is conducted in a circular fashion. I've always thought of the circle, in fact, as one of the most sort of primary structures in nature.
Think of the water going down your drain, how it circulates. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it circulates clockwise. The southern hemisphere circulates counterclockwise, and along the equator, it goes straight up. No, I don't know what it does on the equator.
I'm not sure either.
But that vortex, that rotating field, is what you have to have in order to capture the magnetics of the electrical circuit, and that's explained in Kirchhoff's law. I won't go into that. That's a 2-hour lecture. Look up Kirchhoff's law for you people that really want to know. That explains the angular relationship of voltage, amperage, current flow, and magnetism. And once you understand that, then you'll get a little bit of an idea of what you need to do with your wire in order to maintain the proper relationships.
And I'll tell you, one of the most interesting aspects to all of this for me is that there's absolutely no harm to the environment or to the people.
Oh, no, none whatsoever.
This is what's really great about it, is that actually you can, if this is done properly, it can actually promote greater harmony among people. It can actually promote greater harmony, in the earth that it is around. It can actually produce better crops and everything else if it's done properly, right?
Yeah, our rotating magnetic field rotates between 100 and 300,000 revolutions, depending upon the stationary pattern, and out of that that's frequency, okay? And out of that we have to modulate it, because everything in the world runs at 50 cycles or 60 cycles, right? That operates within 10% of each other, of 10% of 60 and 10 plus or minus, and the same with 50. Mm-hmm. So we're modulating to 54 cycles. That will operate both of them, so we don't have to do anything funny to our coils. And also, 54 times 8 is 432. And 432 is the frequency of nature. So that means that we'll get away from this 440 frequency that they're putting out now, that makes you agitated all the time and keeps you worried all the time and won't let you think clearly. Back to something in harmony with nature, so that we can once again feel good about ourselves. That's just a side effect.
Yeah, well, that's a great side effect, let me tell you. It seems as though, oh, by the way, if anybody does want to join in, the phone lines are open, 718-717-8296. If you have me on Skype, I'll be more than happy to drop you in as well. If you don't, just make a contact request, and I'll gladly bring you in. Okay, so, but where does the 8 come from, though? Could you just explain that? Because I know you explained 54 times 8. Where does the 8 come from in the equation?
Oh, well, 432 divided by 8 is 54. What I was doing first is trying to find a frequency, since we were going to have to reduce it anyway, trying to find a frequency where I would only have one electronic component in every generator we made worldwide. I'm lazy, okay? And I was thinking, well, sure, it'd be kind of nice to do something in harmony with nature, but I don't know if I can do that. So I started working with the different frequencies that would operate with both of them, and found that 54 times 8 was 432. So that's sort of how that came about. Just pure dumb luck, I guess.
I don't think anything that you're doing has anything to do with dumb or luck. It seems as though intelligence and providence of some kind is at work here, because this is really amazing stuff. I mean, to begin to utilize the things that, again, had been utilized in the past. It's not as though you've come up with brand new ideas necessarily, but you are rediscovering some of the things that I can guarantee you have been done in the past that are probably quite, hidden from us as far as our history books go, and maybe misunderstood, I would say, by a lot of academics. But then again, it's not necessarily their fault. I don't think they do it on purpose, but in a lot of cases, they're taught certain things about ancient civilizations which are, simply incorrect. So the canon for what they're taught to begin with is already askew. So this is the problem, and I think that to simplify and explain away a lot of these artifacts and things is a whole lot easier than really doing the extensive kind of scientific exploration to truly understand the nature of this stuff.
Yeah, and like inside the pyramid, you can't even light a match. And they've been telling us all these years, oh yeah, they carried torches with them. Well, there's no soot on the ceiling, no carbon anywhere that you can find. And on the walls in the Temple of Karnak, they show you the fluorescent light bulb that they used to carry in these electrically conductive tunnels that glowed when they walked through the tunnel. It's just like carrying a fluorescent tube under a high power line. It will light up. And
right.
So, oh no, that was just a lotus flower and the smell that it was putting out that they were drawing on the wall. No, that was their light bulb.
Right, and the source for powering that light bulb was built into the tunnel or the area that they were in.
Exactly. They're electrically conductive tunnels, and no, they will not shock you because while you're in there, you're the same potential as the tunnel. So, it's simple.
You're naturally grounded against it, right?
Yeah.
The way it goes.
Yeah, you're the same potential. When you're the same potential, you can't get bit because you are that power.
Right, and in fact, a lot of these weird experiences that people talk about might actually come from the fact that they are being put onto a sort of a different frequency when they enter some of these places.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The circles of ringstone in southern Africa, millions and millions of circles, all made out of ringing stone. This stone, if you hold it up and strike it, it will ring like a bell. And these millions of circles are power sources. This is the gold producing area of Africa, and they were made for smelting. They were made for transporting. It's everywhere, and Michael Tellinger is doing some wonderful work with that. That's something else I'm trying to get right now is, okay, we just got back from Indonesia. We made a different size coil, okay?
Okay.
It fits the proportions exactly so that it will be magnetically correct. Michael Tellinger got a donut-shaped stone from Africa just as an artifact, and there are thousands of them everywhere. And he had it in a suitcase. It ran through the X-ray machine and blew the X-ray machine up. It fried the X-ray machine, okay?
Really?
Yep. That set off all the customs people, and everybody gathered around, and they looked through his luggage and found this stone. Well, it's made out of dolerite, not dolomite, dolerite. And it's very brittle. You can't hardly carve it, and yet there are thousands of donuts of this stone. So it was all a big hubbub, and then finally one of the guys that was on the security team said, "Oh, those are all over around my village. It's a common artifact. Let him go." So there's one of those available, and it is exactly the same dimensions everywhere as ours. That is another thing that tells me what we're doing is at least partially correct.
Right. And oddly enough, those stone donuts that were found in Africa in a lot of cases were misidentified as grindstones.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and that's what goes on top of the pyramid that the gold cap sits on, so that it magnifies the electricity coming out of the pyramid and going up through the capstone. It's the ring on top of the pyramid where the capstone sits.
And actually you can see this depicted. There's a lot of artwork out there where you can find this depicted as well. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense when you look at it in a two-dimensional sense, but if you visualize it as a three-dimensional object and then sort of lay the thing down, it almost looks like an instruction manual as to how to assemble it, doesn't it?
Look on the back of your dollar bill. It tells you how to do it.
Yes, it does. See, people have pointed to that back of that dollar bill and have made a lot of different, sort of stories, let's just say, out of what could be, gleaned from that. And, the truth about it is that it actually reveals this power source, and there are ways of looking at it that are rather nefarious. I understand that. But the truth about it is that it's really just a sort of one of those little manuals that you get when they tell you how to put together a piece of furniture in your house. That's pretty much what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. And I find that really amazing as well. And, do you know why they thought that these things were grindstones? Because as you did just point out, the material they're made out of is rather like, it's not the most sturdy thing in the world as far as, using it to grind something or whatever.
Well, it's brittle and would take like laser to cut it, to shape it, because it's brittle and will just crumble and big chunks of it knock out. So it's rather amazing in its form just by that. But yeah, the grindstones would be like an oval, would go in an oval pattern, right. and that ring would rotate around and grind it more efficiently. You put a circle inside an oval and run it round and round, and it does better. But that's not why they're smooth.
No, that's not why, and they're not made out of the same stuff that they use to grind things. It was a totally different thing. Like I said, it was mislabeled as a grindstone for the longest time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but this is just one example. I'm telling you that there is a whole lot of this stuff which is being ignored. I mean, there's stuff sitting in museums that if you take a really good open-minded look at it, like you had mentioned earlier, the construction of the crowns in a lot of cases.
And the gold jets that they have from the Aztec times. They've got golden objects that are not birds, that have horizontal flight surfaces on them. Mm-hmm. One guy has actually reconstructed one and put a jet engine in it, and it works.
Well, and you know what else? People bring this up to me all the time, and you know those depictions of the helicopters?
Yeah, I've posted that a lot on the gold plate, and there's a helicopter and a surface vehicle and a space vehicle there. One of the vehicles is even a Tesla vehicle because it's dragging a wire to generate the power for it.
And, Tesla, again, this is another guy whose work has not been fully revealed, to the masses, basically. But again, he was not, as much as we like to view him as an innovator, he was another guy who was sort of rediscovering a lot of this stuff which had already been discovered.
Yeah, Tesla and Lee Skowron both. I posted a link down there. I don't know if you can pass that around or not. All of you science geeks out there, read this book. This is the Davis Manual of Magnetism. It includes electromagnetism, magnetoelectricity, and thermoelectricity. This is the book written in 1842 that Tesla and Lee Skowron learned from.
You know what? I'm gonna try and drop that in the chat as soon as I can get right to it. Working on that as we speak, but I'm going to drop that there for everybody to take a look at.
We've been studying this book for 2 or 3 years. Unfortunately, the link that I sent you, you can only read the book while you're on the internet. I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Well, that's okay. I mean, that'll work. I'm sure that the people listening, if this is what they want to see, I've wondered often about the sort of roots of Tesla's ideas, and because we've all heard the various sort of theories about where he came up with his ideas. And it's been an interesting debate, let's just say, but this is most interesting to me.
Well, don't get me wrong. Tesla was a genius.
Oh no, I'm not saying that he wasn't. What I'm saying is that what he discovered, quite literally, wasn't his discovery. Though it was more along the lines of rediscovery in a way.
Yeah, he's putting it together. This book starts out very, very elementary. It will teach you exactly how to make a magnet and lots of different ways and materials that you can make it out of and what direction you've got to face when you make them so that your poles are right. And, you know, the very, very basic things you need to know. And then he'll go on in and teach you levitation and teach you how to use magnets to create your electricity and teach you how to use temperature to create your electricity. It's a very, very good book. It's not the only book, but it's a good one.
Oh, absolutely, and I gave it to the chat room on ucy.tv, and I'll tell you what else. If anybody's listening to me on iTunes Radio or on the TuneIn app or whatever else, just hit me up and I'll drop you the link to that book as well. So.
Everybody that's experimenting with magnetism and electricity would probably benefit from reading this book. And
again, it's just amazing. I mean, the whole, like I said, the whole discussion about Tesla, though, quite honestly, this was, again, another one of those things that I kind of foolishly thought that was, like sort of a mountain out of a molehill. That the guy had some good ideas, but perhaps they didn't work so well. And but really, the truth is, it's been obscured, it's been hidden what it was that he actually developed. And I don't think that even with the later discoveries that a lot of people have come up with, I still think the total sort of breadth of his knowledge is still not in our hands.
Yeah, and although Tesla did need to have maintenance occasionally on some of his stuff, it was still basically free air-transmitted power. And J.P. Morgan says, if I can't charge for it every month, I ain't going to do it. So that's what squashed him. It doesn't provide an everyday residual income. And that's what we're getting away from, man. If I got to see you more than one time, I've done something wrong, unless you just want more power. Our generators are a one-time thing, and your grandkids will be using it.
Yeah, and of course, this is how we ended up with electrocuted elephants and things like this. So, oof.
Yeah. It wouldn't be the first time. We've blown some things up. We've burned some things up. We've made many mistakes. We know a lot of ways not to do it. But we found a few of the ways that it works real good.
And that's another great thing about what you're talking about, is that you have the ability to do this basically maintenance free. I mean, for all intents and purposes, there should be no maintenance in the lifetime of yourself, your children, and possibly even your grandchildren, as you were saying. I mean, in some cases, you're talking about these things should have about a 300-year life. Right?
That's the magnetic field that generates it. All of them will have to be modulated with an electronic circuit. And we plan on oversizing that circuit a great deal to hopefully match the lifetime of the magnets. At very worst, you would have to replace the electronic circuit in it once every 10 years.
Once every 10 years.
Yeah, and that'd probably be, well, five of today's dollars would buy it.
Well, I would gladly trade that right now for what I got to deal with. I'll tell you that. You know,
there isn't anything forever, and there isn't anything that we can actually call perpetual. There are things that help themselves along, and there are things that are pulled magnetically through other kinetic energy forms. But nothing is forever, and nothing does it by itself.
well, no, but I mean, it's a whole lot more forever than the type of electricity we're dealing with now in most of our homes, the type of power that we're utilizing for our own personal conveyance, et cetera, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hope to be a big part of that industry in the very near future by providing power to people that are off the grid, in mountainous areas, island areas, and when those people have it and the rest of the world sees that it's free, then maybe the powers that be will decide that they want to start investing in the real thing.
I believe I have a caller coming in. Let's see. You're on the air.
Hello, John.
Hello, Larry, and I'm not sure your other name.
I'm Chuck.
Hi, Chuck.
So, what do you have to add in?
What am I, what?
What do you have to add in, sir?
Nothing right now. I had a bunch of stuff earlier, but I couldn't figure out how to keep, telling stuff.
About what? Tellinger? Pyramids?
Sorry, it's been a long day already.
The Red Pyramid and the water power?
Yeah, the red pyramid and water power and the fluorescent bulb deal and, all that.
Okay. The Red Pyramid was one of the first attempts to generate with a pyramid. Wait a minute, let me rephrase that. Was one of the first ones that we found. What it did was by directing the water down a very long slope onto a horizontal platform, they were able to get the vertical motion of the water into a horizontal motion. They redirected that horizontal motion around a 90-degree turn. Now, this is all through high silicone granite. They turned this water flow around a corner into a large chamber, and because it hit the chamber at the edge, it made a vortex, a clockwise vortex in that chamber. And as long as that water flowed, that whole pyramid generated. That help?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that before. I remember that.
That's sort of the way that the Great Pyramid works. But rather than circulating the water, it's just done by the water flow under the pyramid, going up into the battery room.
Right. Battery room being the Baghdad batteries, right?
Right. And all those tunnels are conductive. In fact, all the tunnels that connect all the pyramid complex and the Great Sphinx are conductive.
What I want to know is why they always depict in those ancient Egyptian movies, like National Treasure, they had that little pool, well, mini river thing, and then they lit it. There was oil in it, they lit it, and then it flowed. The fire flowed down and lit the entire place.
That is movie magic, because in the pyramids there's not enough oxygen to support fire.
Which is also one of the reasons why people have a lot of those strange experiences, sort of shifts in consciousness and things when they've actually gone in and explored parts of the temple complexes, because there is a lack of oxygen inside.
Yeah, you got to take oxygen with you when you go inside of them.
Right.
Pump it in.
The lack of oxygen will give you hallucinations.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, if you start cutting off oxygen to the brain, you're going to have different reactions. So,
Yep.
Yeah, but that is the truth about that, though, is that actually in the enclosed complexes there is not enough oxygen coming in to maintain a fire. Anyway, there's no fuel.
That's why there's no carbon in there. They lit them with the light bulbs shown in the Temple of Karnak.
Right, which is why you pointed out the whole silliness of using torches and all this kind of thing, because, again, environmentally, it's just impossible anyway. And like you said, yeah, that's just Hollywood magic right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be neat to watch happen, though.
It sure would.
It'd be a good way to warm up a cold cave.
That's for sure. So did you have anything else you wanted to add in?
Not right now, no.
All right. Well,
It kind of makes me feel foolish. I had a bunch of stuff to say, and then I got on the show and completely forgot everything.
well, it's all right, man. You know what? If you want to hang out a little bit and just, think about it, it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
But I'm just, and I want to say really quickly that I'm really grateful for your time, Mr. Woods, because it's so. I have just a very limited sort of understanding of a lot of this stuff personally, and it's just really enlightening to have you on, and I just can't thank you enough for your time, by the way.
I enjoy telling people about it. Free energy is everywhere. It's been there forever. Man has been civilized and destroyed many, many times on this earth. I've seen pictures of watch gears in stone that was 400 million years old, and that kind of tells me that man has risen and fallen over and over and over for millions of years.
Right, and it's really hubris of modern man at this point, what we call modern man anyway, to believe that we are at the apex of technology, we're at the apex of knowledge. We are really, at this point, as a collective, I would say, children in the universe. We're not advancing because it seems as though we have been destroyed and rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt repeatedly. And that is something that, like I said, most of your mainstream historians seem to fail to grasp. And it's, the more you look, though, and the more you examine things and you take a step back and don't just accept the explanations of the mainstream, like I said, the archaeologists, the anthropologists, the people that are educated poorly to begin with, the more you take a step back and really open your mind to what's there is so much more to the story.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yep.
And, the pyramids, especially the complex, at Giza, has been, definitely a point of fascination for people for many years. But I still say that they fail to comprehend the full sort of potential that exists there. I think if we were able to seize upon the techniques that were utilized there, and to fully understand, and I mean, I'm not even saying that, and I hope you don't take offense to this, but even with the great stuff that you've said here, I don't feel as though you and I are going to really fully, unearth the entirety of what could be available there.
Oh no, we never will.
Not in our current atmosphere as it is anyway, and not without some serious re-examination. Where we really begin to benefit from the advances technologically, and in a way, this links directly to the spiritual advancement of us as a species, because after all, if we were able to, completely coexist in a friendly way with the rest of the universe, it would definitely change the game. I mean, there have been many times that certain philosophers have pointed to the fact that mankind in general has done nothing but do combat to itself and to its environment throughout the course of its history. But of course, this history is still limited. It's quite redacted.
It only goes back, 2,000, 3,000 years? Like actual written history, besides, religious texts. But, actual, that you can document this happened around this date, it only goes back some 2,000 years.
Well, right, and then the estimations, which are made by, like I say, the archaeologists and anthropologists of our time, are really a lot of, misinterpretations, I would say. So, the remnants of what was, and the fact that there is a great deal more potential to be learned from all these things, I really would like to see a greater re-examination of those things, because these cultures which we view as ancient, as uncivilized, as less enlightened than where we are today, like I say, this is really just the arrogance of us as a species. And probably those people thought that they were quite a bit more advanced than they really were, too.
Absolutely. Sure, everybody thinks that they're the best there is.
Well, I mean, you think about it, you look at it until the quote unquote white man came. Indians had very little illnesses that they couldn't easily take care of, and it astounds me that no one mentioned tooth decay or tooth problems back then, when they didn't have the advanced technology of teeth brushing, which they chewed herbs such as mint and jasmine and other stuff around their climate.
And used twigs to clean their teeth.
Yeah, sweet gum. Yeah, they would peel the bark off, and then it's like flaky, and brush it, and it would clean their teeth and prevent tooth decay. Adding fluoride to your teeth that we think is so special and is going to help us is calcifying our pineal gland, which is reducing imagination, preventing us from advancing, and it's also hardening our teeth, making them brittle and easily, you bite into a really, really crisp apple and a microscopic piece just chips off. And I can tell because I eat like a lot of foods that I'm pretty sure that's happened, because gradually I can feel and see that my teeth look like a cow's. What they chew all day, and it's just, worn down and brittle, and, I know that happens with age, but it's more so than my dad's teeth, and he's like 50-something. My actual dad's teeth are, they're larger than mine. They're more sharp than mine, and, he does pretty much the same thing I did, but he doesn't use fluoride toothpaste.
Well, yeah, and he also didn't have the, he didn't grow up on the daily doses of aluminum, which are not very good for you.
And mercury.
And mercury, all that wonderful mercury, too. See, but here's the thing. When we're talking about all these metals, just remember this. I don't know if you caught the part where we were talking about, Larry was talking about tooth decay, and how they could utilize a lodestone and a piece of iron in order to take care of a toothache.
Right, and I'd never heard that before. He hasn't told me about that.
Well, yeah, and but there was a lot of this stuff, like I said before, that people have thought of as just simply, ornamental religious decoration and whatnot,
right.
That were made of stone that contained different mineral elements, that if they were arranged properly, I mean, we've all seen depictions of the, like say the casting of stones or the casting of bones by witch doctors or by shamans or by various types of medicine men throughout different cultures. These were not, just religious affectations. In a lot of cases, what they were utilizing was the natural magnetic field in order to create effects. And this is something that, again, was lost on the quote-unquote white man, because, like I said previously, that, simply because military, to conquer someone militarily does not necessarily mean that you're any more enlightened or any more intelligent than the people that you've conquered.
Right. I can almost guarantee you that without guns, if we just came over here with swords, that, the Spaniards wouldn't have won, because the American Indians, from the research that I've done on that, they could build bows, well, better than they can now because they haven't need to, but, they could build bows that would launch it like 50 feet with deadly accuracy. They could hit a pinpoint, not, like a really, really small target at that range and kill it.
Oh yeah, the archery.
And that just astounds me. You can't do that with normal bows now without the scope and the, you know, it's almost like a sniper thing. But they would just freaking pull it back and it would just hit it, just not even thinking about it, just and it's dead.
Right, and that's you know, the archery skills of the Native American were way superior to anything that Europe had to offer. You know, if you take a look at any of the descriptions of battles that were occurring or anything else, even when they used larger scale archery units, they would have to rain down, you know, basically overwhelm someone with numbers of arrows in order to hit anything. But you're exactly correct. A Native American, though, could knock the eye out of a flying bird if they wanted to with a very strong bow that they made from natural materials.
Have you seen The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? It's a movie about like a bunch of gentlemen that have extraordinary powers, you know, Dorian Gray and all that. It's like completely bull, but the one dude, he used an old shotgun, not a musket, but just right after that, you know, an old style shotgun, and like one bullet, and he tells the American, he's like, you Americans, you think with numbers. You have a machine gun and just fire it everywhere and expect to hit something. You know, it is an art form. You take a shot, and he you know, it's cool, but you know, it's that's to me and what they could do, but without thinking about it.
Well, yeah,
control means hitting what you aim at.
Right.
Absolutely. And yeah, look, every time when you look at one of these sort of Hollywood, you know, representations of things, as much as there's a whole bunch of, you know, precognitive dissonance built into that, as much as there's, you know, a whole bunch of distraction and distortion built into everything, you know, every once in a while a little bit of truth does leak into it. So, yeah, that is the truth right there, is that, but that originally was a European problem where they would overwhelm with numbers, you know, and the Americans adopted it, sure we did.
Yep.
And, yeah, nowadays, instead of, like I said, that raining, you know, pile of archery, yeah, now it's, you know, the multi-round assault rifle, which, you know, with an underskilled marksman, you know, this is seen as military superiority, but there is something to be said for the art form of being able to hit what you're actually aiming at and what you actually intend to hit. So, anyway, I know I'm off on a strange little rant here, but since you brought it up, I figured I'd answer it.
Yeah.
You know, but back to the Native American thing. I mean, not only with that, there was a great deal. But see, the fact that we could talk about the archery skills and the ability to utilize the natural magnetic fields, the ability to utilize the herbs, the ability to coexist with the earth as opposed to conquering it. This was a completely different philosophical bent from what we're dealing with now. And this is part of what it is that I really enjoy talking to Larry about, because, you know, we're talking about peaceful coexistence with the planet and with each other, with the added benefit of being able to enjoy free energy, which is very possible, and Larry's proving it with what he's doing with these coils. And you know, I'm sorry, Larry, I know I keep kind of stepping in here, but this is really the purpose of why I wanted to have him on again, was to discuss some of this historical context, because I enjoy it, but also to sort of give people new things to think about, because the idea of free energy, the idea of peaceful coexistence with the planet, the idea of everybody being on the correct or the more peaceful frequency with the entire universe just seems to be a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, I can't spotlight this kind of stuff enough.
Well, thank you. I think it's real important that we start thinking more about alternate ways than something different than fossil fuel. That's all. The fossil fuel, that's Mother Nature's lifeblood, and we're draining it. The Earth ain't gonna let us keep taking forever. It just won't.
That reminds me of a wonderful pic that ironically I found on Facebook of all places. It was a picture of Gaia, or Mother Earth, as this, like, angelic woman with, like, flowers and stuff all over, and then a dude that was supposed to be human, and he's like, it was like a panel, and he's like, when are you going to stop humans from destroying you? And she's like, you're so foolishly ignorant, you're destroying yourselves. And he's like, yeah, I know, when are you going to help us? And she's like, I'm not, you're only destroying it for you, I'll adapt.
Yeah, once man is gone, the earth will repair itself.
Yeah, I mean, life isn't going to, just stop because, life will continue if only down to the cockroach and some algae that, produces enough oxygen for the cockroach to live and eat, and for the cockroach to eat, I mean, life will continue somehow. We're just basically, screwing ourselves over. If you'll excuse the language.
No, it's fine. George Carlin definitely comes to mind here, where he said, the planet will be fine. It's the people that are effed. So
exactly, yeah. Exactly. I've heard that quote. I can't remember where of it.
Why are you? Have you got anybody that's an astronomer that listens to this? Why are we the only solar system that we can see that is encapsulated in an Oort cloud? Our entire solar system is inside a big ball of rocks.
Well, maybe we were advanced at one point enough to have destroyed the, what was it, the planet that became the...
No, there was no a planet. No, it's not a belt. It's an entire ball of rocks all the way around us. Why are we the only solar system like that?
I'll tell you what, I don't have the answer to that question, but anybody that does, if you have me on Skype, please drop in. If not, 718-717-8296, or send me a contact request, and I'll add you in. I always say that, and very few people take me up on it. You did tonight, so I'm very happy you did. But yeah, anybody, Charles.Ochelli, Ochelli, very simple. But that's all there is to it. I will definitely add you in if you have an answer to that question. I don't know, to be honest with you. It seems as though it's a mathematical impossibility that there wouldn't be life elsewhere, but our particular system does seem to be unique, at least as far as we can see, right?
Yeah, well, as far as we can see.
That only gives two explanations that we can see. Either we are a remarkably mathematically almost impossible coincidence, fluke of chance,
right?
Or there is a God.
Well, or we haven't seen far enough to see the other 10 billion that look just like us.
Well, that's true too.
So I'm sorry. I kind of side with that, because it just seems to be, one of those things. And believe me, I'm not siding against the idea that there is a God. I don't think that we are actually developed or evolved enough to fully understand God. So anybody who does tell me that they completely understand God, I think, I disagree with them respectfully.
Well, there was a time when I thought, I forget what his name was, but the dude in the Bible that said, for 100 and something years he walked with God, and then he was no more, for God took him away. That for the longest time I was like, he was the first one to be abducted by aliens.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you look at it, sure.
And you know what? That's another really good possibility as well, is that, we were dropped off here as an experiment, and we are still climbing around in the Petri dish. I mean,
yeah.
I can't disprove that, so therefore I don't say that it's impossible.
We may be the only violent species in the universe, and they are quarantining us.
This could very well be the prison for the species that doesn't want to coexist. I mean, this could be, us and all the rest of the animals that were dropped here were the problem children of the other planets. I mean, it's a possibility.
Can't we just get along?
Oh, wow. I can't believe you pulled that one out.
We're like the Australia of the galaxy.
You know, I was thinking that, and I wasn't going to say it because...
That's it, I'm telling.
But yeah...
Oh, he heard me, I know. He heard me.
You're all in trouble now.
Oh, man, here we go.
Don't forget the address he just gave you, folks. All the nasty letters and emails. Don't forget Charles Ochelli.
That's correct. Listen, if you want to send an email, I'll take the full-length email as well. Just don't send me a virus, please. That's all I ask. Chuck, CHUCK1972 at Lycos, LYCOS.com. I'll take your emails, too, regardless of how hostile they are.
Send money. Oh.
And yeah, we can do that too.
It reminds me of one of those smoking commercials, that Family Guy was making fun of. They're like, talking about smoking relaxes you. Smoke. It helps you come together with your family and smoke. And this and that. Are you smoking yet?
Yeah. Exactly. But all right, we've had a little bit of fun, and I'm definitely all for that as well. And I'm glad you brought up Family Guy. I like Family Guy.
I know, right? I mean, I just watch it because it's everything that it's like somebody finally sees the stupidity that is everything that we're living in.
Right. I mean, a lot of it is very interesting social commentary, and
right.
Oh boy, it's just something that I enjoy to decompress a lot of times, because when you go through a lot of the, and I'll tell you, this is another nice thing about the show that we're doing right now, which again, thank you, Mr. Woods. I can't thank you enough. But the thing is that at least this is a hopeful thing. I'm not just sitting here focusing on, planes falling out of the sky, Ebola viruses, and people dying, and assassinations, and, children being sent places with diseases. And, for God's sake, sometimes it's nice to just sit down and, let your mind go a little bit. So I use Family Guy for that.
Yep.
I know.
But
our galaxy or our solar system is Meg.
Oh.
It's Meg, okay.
Well, but it is interesting that, just to get back on the subject, and I'm sorry.
Right.
But,
My bad.
no, it's cool. Don't worry about it. But I like diverting every once in a while, because it's just, it's fun. But, besides the idea of the car, and what you just came back from Indonesia, you said?
Yeah, we got back in late April. It's a wonderful country. The people over there, okay, heads up, everybody in the whole world, listen to this. You're all the same. You're all the same. It don't matter what you call your God. What matters is that everybody loves their children. They love one another. They're friendly. All they want is food and to be left alone, just like everybody else in the world. These people were mostly Muslim, and I was told before we went over there, oh God, be careful, please be careful, you need to hire security over there. They're nothing but liars. They're gonna take advantage of you. They're gonna hurt you. No. We walked down totally dark alleyways with people sitting along the sides of the alley having fun on a Saturday night, smiled and nodded. Everybody smiled and nodded back. No problems whatsoever in a 7 million people city. Now, if you used to go down a dark alley in New York, you'd be killed. So they're not evil.
Yeah,
you're telling me that that a third world violent country is safer than New York, a civilized, supposed to be non-violent city?
Absolutely.
Listen, hold on right there. You just called New York civilized, sir. I have lived there, and I refuse to let that stand.
As have I, and I'll back Chuck up fully on that one.
I feel shame.
That's still in Wade, who just joined in, by the way.
Hello, nice
Sorry, I couldn't let the New York comment slide either.
But it was literally, I live in Independence, Missouri. All you people want to come by my house, here I am. And it was literally safer than walking in downtown Independence in the middle of the night. It really was, and our police station is right there on the square. So it's...
Well, that's probably why it's not safe.
Really?
Well, yeah, anymore.
Hey, that's something else. The police over there help the people. The police are there to be helpful.
Novel concept.
And they're kind.
Well, wait a minute.
The vast majority of them don't even carry a pistol.
Larry, you mean they actually protect and serve? Is that what they
Absolutely. Mostly serve. There's very little protecting.
I don't know, Larry. I don't know where you went, because you know what I understand about that area of the world. It doesn't make very much sense, does it?
See, you've been programmed just like I was.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another good point. And meanwhile, you were over there introducing them to this concept with the coils, and there were people there that had never had electricity in their homes, right?
Absolutely. And there still are many, many, many of them. Some of them have electricity for 1 or 2 hours because they can't afford the fuel.
Well, what are they using? Diesel generators, or?
Some of them use diesel generators. Some of them just have a little bitty Honda generator that puts out 1,500 watts.
Wow.
You know, for a whole village. They all gather around on a Saturday night and turn and charge their cell phones.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Well, okay, it's a mountainous country or islands. There's like 10,000 islands in the Indonesian chain. So they've either got to have their own power plant on the island or stretch power lines over the tops of the mountains. You can't afford to do that. And
why not just have a static, one of those voltage multiplier, things where you send up a wire, and then have a jewel ringer at the bottom, or a switching circuit to make it AC, and then a jewel ringer to,
You could.
give
You could.
I mean, that's what I'm doing to power my little trailer shop. Yeah, check it out on YouTube.
That's an easy way to do it. That's a Tesla solution. And that is power for a great area that's transmitted through the air.
Yeah.
Ours is simply a magnetic drive coil.
Which Tesla also did.
Exactly. Yeah, none of this stuff is new. None of it at all is new. We've got a design that probably hasn't been used for quite a while, but that's all.
I wonder if the people in, Canaan and those back then times used technology similar to this.
I'm sure they did. How do you think that Joshua won the Battle of Jericho with sound? Sonically. Those horns. We had a truck pull here in Kansas City, and it made the building collapse because of the low frequency that was created by the truck engines. Okay? That's all it takes. The proper frequency. You can do lots of stuff. You can weld with frequency. You can make people wet themselves. You can make people eardrums explode.
And how did the wall at Jericho fall? Well,
they blew their horns 7 times around it and beat their drums.
Wait, is 432? That's the frequency you're talking about, right?
Yeah, 432.
Is that divisible by 7 at all?
No.
I don't
it
think
gives
so.
You a fraction. Gives you a
Right.
fraction.
I'm never good with math, so yeah, I'm working in a field where it's integral, and yet I'm not good at it.
Math is something that you're not good at unless you use all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not really the best with the mathematics myself. You know, I can understand it when it's laid out to me, but sometimes I can't create the formulas for myself, you know, that make sense. So, but divisible by 8 is what 432 is.
Yeah, exactly, and that gives you 54. And that's what we tune our coils to because it works at 50 and 60 cycles both, and we just did that because I'm lazy.
But it works.
But it worked, yeah.
So, but then again, you also said that you wanted to make sure there was, the least amount of maintenance possible on these things as well. So,
Absolutely.
Sometimes laziness is not necessarily a bad thing, and I don't want to categorize it as laziness anyway, because you can't really be a lazy person and engage in the kind of stuff that you're doing. So, you know,
we have fun doing it. It's an exciting thing. The test results with a 6-circuit coil, there's over 100 ways that you can hook it up, okay? I reproduced every one of those experiments probably 20 times before I believed it myself. It just doesn't follow electrical math without...
Did you come up with that frequency to power your coils with? Did you come up with that from some like base area, or did you just like
absolutely
hit on a frequency just to pull it out of the air?
No, 50 cycle equipment works within 10% plus or minus. Okay, so 54 will make 50 cycle equipment work. 60 cycles, the same thing, and 54 falls in that 10% range for the 60 cycle, just exactly at the edge. So that'll work both of them. Boom. Now all I've got to have is one component for every generator we make, rather than one component for 50 cycle and one component for 60 cycle. Okay? Neato, Grandpa. Well, 54 times 8 is 432, and that works. I could have made it 55, and both of them would work, but that is not in harmony with nature. We don't want to be that one voice singing out of tune with God.
Right. But I mean, I keep thinking, is there anything to the tin hat idea?
Well, of course there is.
Well,
in today's world.
Well, I mean, did they actually, would tin actually block most of those frequencies? Because, I mean, if I had a lead hat, it'd be incredibly heavy, but it would block the frequencies. But, tin, microwaves go through tin to some extent.
Barely. If you were to be assaulted with an electromagnetic pulse, that would knock you down. That would disrupt your brain frequency, okay? And you would at least be stunned. Instead, when you wear your tin hat, that pulse can't get to your brain.
So
that's what the tin hat's all about.
Yeah, so in essence, the tinfoil hat is not exactly the craziest thing in the world if you really believe that you're being assaulted by something which produces either microwaves or magnetic waves.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's still kind of there's an experiment to be done there. I judge my state now and then put the hat on and wear it for a month. And if there's any change, any positive change, then there's obviously some merit to that, whether it be just a psychological thing of, I feel safer, so I become, more positive and safer, or it actually is a physical phenomenon being blocked.
Well,
shields.
I suspect that both things actually contribute to it.
Yes, a Faraday cage.
Yeah. Yeah, putting your head in a Faraday cage, that's all you're doing.
But if you can make a Faraday cage suit, Someone said that. Someone said something about a Faraday cage suit. It was that you or someone else? That was you. Oh, that was you. Okay, yeah.
The military has Faraday clothing, but they don't have reclamation circuits on it because their clothing is not dependable. It breaks a circuit all the time, and that makes it totally ineffective.
Yeah.
When it's not one piece of wire, when it's not connected electrically, one to the other, then you lose continuity. And when you lose the continuity, you lose the effectiveness of the field. And so it's just like not wearing it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, well, you know, we've gone through, let's see, air cars, tinfoil hats.
Oh, I missed the air cars?
You missed the air car a little bit, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we've gone through that. We've gone through the temples and the pyramids, and again the frequency of the universe, and still haven't gotten an answer as to why it is our particular system is the way it is, surrounded by that rock. But I'm hoping that somebody will get in touch with me and tell me what that is, because quite honestly, I'm not familiar with it. You know, the applications for this type of stuff are just endless, it seems like, Larry. I mean, there's really nothing where you would require energy generation where this stuff couldn't be useful.
Exactly. It works in sound equipment because it vibrates at whatever frequency you put into it. That makes it a perfect pitch speaker that'll operate on both treble and bass with the same speaker. You don't have to have the cardboard cone anymore to project the sound. Volume is only dictated by the size of the coil. An MRI, the design that we've got that keeps all of the magnetic field inside of the vortex would be a perfect replacement for an MRI machine, because when you take an MRI now, it's like getting 120 chest x-rays, and that's really bad for you. But with ours, with a magnetic field inside of it, the machine could still do what it does, but you wouldn't be harmed by it.
But I mean, if you're not harmed by it, then they're not going to kill you faster and make more money off of you when you finally develop cancer. So they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're by giving you bone cancer or leukemia. Yeah.
Right, and as we were discussing earlier, obviously if there's no profit in it, then, you know, where does it usually go? Well, they usually, disappear, that kind of knowledge. So, you know, I'm so glad that we're getting some of this stuff out there. And it's a story that continues on and on, it seems. You know, whether we're talking about Tesla or we're talking about the either purposeful or simply ignorant explanations of ancient historical sites, all of this stuff is still really misunderstood by most of the public, and it's just one of those things that I'm hoping that some of my shows will be able to show people that there are other possibilities. You know, regardless of whether everything that I've said or everything that anybody says on here is entirely correct. It is always good to sit and re-examine things, for the fullness of the knowledge that could be gained. And I'm really happy that we're doing that. And you know what? I really hope that people learn even better and even more precisely some of these more environmentally friendly things to do. Free energy seems to be, a way that we could really shake up the entire system, because, think about this, if you don't have to require the participation of the corporations and of the government entities that control most of this stuff, that leaves us in a totally different atmosphere than what we're dealing with now.
Because it takes away their power and the dollar, and we can finally take off those. It's like the chains from the Christmas Tale of Marley or whatever his name was, the ghost that visited Scrooge, was all bogged down with chains. Well,
Right.
we may be doing those spiritual chains, but in this world we have a money chain.
Absolutely correct.
We can finally throw those off and be like, go off yourself, corporate government and other people.
There's many answers out there. It's all over YouTube. Just put in free energy and look and see.
Oh yeah, but most of those are just wow. They're obviously just people looking for views.
Well, yeah, some of them are just toys. Some of them will light an LED. Some of them will light a room. Some of them will light a house. You just pick through them and see what you think is right.
Crystal batteries.
It's right. Try it. Crystal batteries are excellent.
And John
capacitors are excellent. You can make all of this stuff out of junk, literally. Old microwave ovens, old TVs, it just out of junk that you can get it anywhere. Somebody's throwing away a refrigerator. That's a wealth of joyful stuff to play with. All the computer hard drives have got neodymium magnets in them.
Oh yeah, I love those.
A big horse and a half motor has got some giant magnets in it and a whole bunch of wire. You can turn an alternator magnetically off of a car and get some astounding voltage out of it. This stuff is real. Look it up. If you think it will work, try it out. If it don't work, try something else out. Or talk to somebody that may be able to explain what mistake you've made. Talk to people about it. Spread the word. Everybody in the world knows something that I do not know, and I want to know it. If you know something, get a kid involved with it. Show a kid what you're doing. If the kid wants to get involved, let them do it for a while. Let them make some mistakes so they know how to fix stuff. It's all a learning process. We've got to share with everybody.
And that's another thing, is the more that we share our knowledge, regardless of what area you think that you have your strengths and your weaknesses in, the more that we share our knowledge, the more that we grow as a species again. And I keep using that word because I hate the idea of the collective, because you
will be assimilated.
There you go.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, every single one of the human beings that have electricity, that's why I feel so jealous of third world countries sometimes. You may be starving for food, but you have intelligence and humanity about you. Every single person that has a smartphone, in high school, my junior and senior years, I hated it because, I would, after school, it's like, just rush with your head down looking at your freaking phone. There's zombies, man. I mean, I swear, if someone hacked into the network and just shut down all communications between non-military personnel, the entire world would be...
15-year-old girls will lose their mind.
I'll tell you, the day the satellites crash, to be honest with you, will be the day that the zombie apocalypse really does begin. Because what are these kids going to do if they're not playing, Farm Heroes and Candy Crush and whatever else?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I
stopped using Facebook because at first I used it to, coordinate with people, but then I kept getting so many, would you like to play Farmville 2? I would come on Facebook after an hour of not being there and have 100 new notifications. So I'm just like, no, okay, I'm done with this.
Yes. See, I've gone back and forth on Facebook. I mean, by the way, also I have a Facebook page, which is Chuck Ochelli, if you want to check me out there. And also the Ochelli Effect has a Facebook page. But I only utilize it for that pretty much. I mean, I do... share a couple of pictures with people that I don't really see anymore and stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, all that stuff is pretty much a waste of time. I mean, I network with it a little bit. I try and utilize it for that. But the people that are completely engrossed in these games, these pointless, it just...
Point and click.
Yeah, point and click. And then yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell you something about Facebook. I stopped using Facebook for the last time after Facebook charged me. It somehow got a hold of my credit card information, which was not on my computer and was barely on PayPal. And I didn't tell it to charge. I never linked it. I never made any payments with Facebook with my card ever. Period. Because that's stupid. Why am I going to put into a game to get something on a game that's not going to make me money or help me out in any way whatsoever, except to be like, I got a repeater. So I stopped using Facebook after they charged me twice, one consecutively, and completely messed up my finances. They charged me $60 and then $50 for Facebook game, and then my bank couldn't tell me what they used it for, only that Facebook charged me for it, and that after I didn't have enough money in my account, I went into overdraft, and I'm now in debt because of Facebook. So when I went up there and tried to dispute it, they did their little trial thing, and they couldn't prove that I didn't because I do my finances and Facebook on the same computer. So they were like, well, you probably messed up and put it in there somehow. I'm like, no, it doesn't happen like that. You don't accidentally input your entire financial information so that someone else can do it by accident. So
yeah.
So after that, I'm like, I'm done with Facebook. I tried to delete my account, but they won't let me delete my account. So I just don't go back to it.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do. Like I said, I just use it for networking purposes, and that's about it.
Sorry, I didn't go on a rant about Facebook, but...
You know what? It's okay. It's okay.
It's gotten me connected all around the world.
It's the thing. There's some positive elements to it, but it's definitely one of the signs of the beast. So I understand.
Yeah. Same with Skype. It connects us so we don't have to pay a long distance phone bill.
Right.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, I can talk to you here, and I get unlimited whatever. But here I can just all day long, and even if I don't pay my phone bill, I can just all day long.
Yeah.
Well, anything to keep you busy so that you're not out there thinking, creating, or doing something positive in the world. That's generally the strategy there.
Because God forbid you think and be your own individual person.
Well, that is exactly the point. And I think that's one of the things that definitely Larry likes to try and to push out there as far as people go, is that look, think for yourselves, explore these things for yourselves, look into it. And try and get a better understanding of the world around you. There may be a whole lot more to the story than you ever imagined. And that is all there is to it. I mean, when it comes to free energy, it's a reality. I don't know if there's anywhere that you want to point people to, Larry, but yeah, you did mention that people can find you on Facebook, so I'll apologize in advance for any of the people that find you on there from this show and aren't nice to you.
That's quite all right. We also on Facebook have a page called Limitless Energy Technologies, and I post random things, but about once a month, throughout the month, I will post everything that you need to know to do exactly what we've done. All of the knowledge necessary is on that page. You just got to put it together yourself.
And I will swoop down like a vulture on a dead rabbit.
And it's Unlimited Technologies?
Limitless Energy Technologies.
Limitless Energy Technologies on Facebook. Okay. That's great. I hope you go there. If you're going to go to Facebook, unfortunately, you're not going to Facebook, but I understand. It's okay. Maybe
I might have to make an exception.
Either that or make yourself a ghost account under an odd name. A lot of people do that, and this way you can at least connect with stuff like that because, what Larry puts out is a lot of valuable information. And I've just tried to give you guys a taste of it, really. I mean, I have heard and have read some of the stuff that Larry's talking about, and I got to tell you, it's a whole new world if you start to embrace the idea of free energy and of a lot of the stuff that Larry's talking about. And it's just really, again, a privilege to have you on. And I think we're just about out of time, which means that Vince will be coming on just about any minute now. It's just really been a great pleasure, Larry. Thank you.
It's been an honor to be here, Chuck. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you allowing me to help spread the word. Free energy is everywhere. You can drive a ground rod into the earth and draw power off of it. You can put that ground rod in the earth, run a wire up a tree, wrap it around an iron nail, and the entire tree is your antenna with the earth as a power source. There are so many things that we can do. It's there. Look it up. Do a little research. Play with some wire. Get shocked once in a while. Find out what it's really like. Just don't grab any of the real big stuff. Free energy is there. Tesla stuff is real. Lee Skeleton stuff is real. Levitation, magnetic levitation is real. It's demonstrated throughout the world. Everybody can do it. You can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So just think of it like that. Larry's a dummy, man. Everybody else out there makes me feel so insecure about my knowledge.
And yet, every time I speak to you, I feel like, I'm talking to Aristotle or something,
I just desire knowledge.
Well, the thirst for knowledge definitely gives you the open door to the limitless possibilities that are out there, and this is the great thing. But I really do have to take issue with you saying anything about you being a dummy, Larry, because you're just an amazing well of knowledge as far as I'm concerned, and I really, I'm just astounded every time I talk to you. I learn at least 5 new things, and it's great. It's really, really great to have that. And to experience that with you. And just like you just said there, and I didn't even ask your name.
John?
John, is that John?
Yeah, Jonathan.
Okay, John.
Sorry, Mr. Tesseract it's not on YouTube yet. I'm still coordinating. I've finally decided on a name for myself, so I'm trying to coordinate all my accounts with that so that people can, find me easier, but haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, I'm on YouTube. Just type in free energy prototype 1, and you should see my videos eventually.
That's cool.
That's about the best I can say right now.
That's cool. You're probably another one of these guys that I encountered when I was just typing in free energy on YouTube, like Larry told me to. And
well, I used super glue, and I was spinning magnets on a flywheel of my own design before I had found out that had already been done. And the super glue didn't hold, so the magnets shot off and embedded themselves in the wall. So it was pretty cool. So I was like, I'm going to put this on Facebook or YouTube.
Well, but that's how you learn, right? You try a couple of different things, and then when you have failures, this is where knowledge can also be gleaned, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
That's spectacular. So, please do go check that out and just find Larry Woods on Facebook. And, I don't know why I can't wrap my mind around this. One more time, the name of the energy.
Limitless Energy Technologies.
Limitless Energy Technologies on Facebook. Okay. And anybody who's listening to this further downstream or on the SoundCloud or whatever else, of course, you can find ucy.tv/TOE, and that's my show page. You'll also see that there's a chat room there and loads of other hosts on ucy.tv. And, it's just about that time. And, I've already thanked Larry, but I want to thank all the listeners as well, because I know that there's a bunch of you out there that don't necessarily interact, but do hear what it is we're talking about. And I hope that if nothing else has come out of this tonight, the idea that there are limitless possibilities.
What is that?
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was a...
But I have the files. You know, I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, you know, pistols and fondle slab of choice. I don't know when that was. It doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not Jesse Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from as long as it's real. It doesn't. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't want you to just read two sources whenever I try to prove out.